How's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Skyline Sports Podcast. I'm your host, Jack Hartman, joined as always by my good friend, my co-host from the West Coast, Nick Normand. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing well today, Jack. Was just super stoked to be talking with you before this. I can't believe that I didn't told you. For the audience, I'm gonna be going to the UK. I'm gonna be able to go get to see my Steelers play the Vikings in Dublin, and it's just gonna be awesome. I'm gonna be away for 2 weeks, so we may or may not be able to get some podcast episodes in as I'm traveling. But I'm just super excited about that. Even though my Steelers and Aaron Rodgers seem like they're likely to be playing against Carson Wentz and the Vikings, I still think that game should be fun. The vibe should be awesome. My Steelers play the Patriots next week as I'm going to be landing in London. I'm going to try and catch that game in a pub or something as I'm rolling into London. I'm kind of worried about the Patriots next week for my Steelers. My Steelers are a little bit concerning, but super excited. Big trip. Really awesome. Happy to be chatting with you, Jack, but really looking forward to that. I'm taking off on Saturday and just really excited.
Yeah, no, that sounds so sick. I'm a little jealous. But yeah, no, I am resting on my laurels of the Lions offense showing that they still are who we thought they were, and even better doing it against the traitor Ben Johnson. At least that's how everybody else sees it. I'm I'm indifferent. I mean, we all knew he was going to go get a job somewhere. I'm not like, how dare he leave? It's the progression of things. It's how these things go. But it was good to get a win. Was good to get a win in the division, and was good to make Caleb Williams look bad because that's always a fun time. So, but we had another great week here of the NFL. We're gonna do things the same way we did last week. Sort of our what are who were we impressed by? Who are we concerned about? And then a couple games that we're looking forward to. So Nick, what impressed you this last week?
So, what impressed me primarily was Mac Jones and the 49ers. I thought they wouldn't be able to cover a pretty solid number against a Saints team that's been bad. Spencer Rattler, I think, honestly, if you look at last year's Saints team, you had Spencer Rattler, you had, I think, Jake Hayner was the one who was out of Fresno State, who was also on that team, played a couple of games and stuff. Rattler played okay last year and he played all right against the 49ers. But Mac Jones, really impressive, good passer rating, really able to put together a win where they weren't able to really pull away in the end. They won. But definitely with the amount of talent that's been out for this 49ers team early in the season, they always get injured. Kittle's out now. Trent Williams got banged up in week one. McCaffrey has been healthy, but he's somebody who we're always concerned about being injured. He popped up on the injury report before week one. Their receiving core is really depleted right now. Being able to have Jake Tonches in week one make a huge play and being able to get contributions from him again in week two. Mac Jones, who we think might be a game manager, he's a backup who was a starter at one point for New England, but he profiled to be that game manager, not a game changer, not the best athlete or anything. But to be able to have that game manager come in and play for Brock Purdy and be able to right the ship when this is a team that's on the edge where their schedule we thought was going to be super easy, but a schedule super easy when you're lacking in everything on offense right now due to health. That was just a massive concern that we thought this team was going to be able to take advantage. And if you fall apart physically, you're not going to be able to rack up those wins like we thought they could when their schedule was so much easier than the Rams, the Cardinals, the Seahawks. They had the easiest of the bunch,
Hmm.
but they were able to pull out the win. Mac Jones looked impressive. Kyle Shanahan, I got to give him all the credit in the world. He's a dude who makes his quarterbacks look impressive. Trey Lance had dudes running wide open that he was able to throw the ball to in the couple of starts that Trey Lance had. Brock Purdy looked good. Jimmy Garoppolo never looked better than when he was a 49er. Just really impressive showing by Mac Jones and Kyle Shanahan there.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I think they looked really good. And yeah, and I mean, I think we need to talk about San Francisco a little bit in terms of what this team could be. This is a team that either makes the NFC Championship game or doesn't make the playoffs. Um, it's just literally that's actually the statistic under Mike Shanahan. And so, I think going into this year, we thought it was going to be a don't make the playoffs year. They've gotten a couple of wins. Their next two games, they host Carolina and then they host Jacksonville. And then they go to Los Angeles. So there's a strong chance they win the next 2 weeks and then lose. But that game in Los Angeles is a Thursday night game, and then they have a mini bye to potentially get healthy there before week 5, or excuse me, before week 6. So this could be a team that is, well in the conversation to win the NFC West, excuse me, this year, despite losing what feels like 75% of their defensive production, despite trading away Deebo Samuel and Jordan Mason. This so far they've done better than I expected them to.
Definitely.
Yeah. Team or person, thing that impressed me this week, has to be Baker Mayfield, man. I mean, I think it is safe to say that he it needs to be in the conversation of most clutch quarterback in the NFL. And that's not just like, oh, we've seen 2 game-winning drives this year. Statistically, since 2023, which I'm pretty sure since he joined Tampa Bay, he has 22 touchdowns in the fourth quarter or overtime. That leads the NFL in that time. And also since then, he has 6 fourth quarter game-winning drives. 5 of them they were trailing at the time. One of them they were tied, and he just keeps doing it. He just keeps showing up in that moment. Albeit some of those games have been against teams that you're like, why are you this close with them? At this point in the game. But even last night, with how decimated they are on the offensive line, he still just keeps finding a way to pull magic out of a hat and to make it work. He really does. He looked really, really good there towards the end. He had a scramble where he got hurt, and then CJ Gardner-Johnson got up in his face, and he remembered that, oh wait, I can't be hurt right now because I got to talk my talk, and was completely fine after that. And it's just, I think the way Troy Aikman described it was he's got a lineman's mentality, but he plays quarterback, and I think it's true. I really do. I also think it's hilarious the way people keep talking about him as a comeback story, and like, as I was a Browns fan at the time, like, he was good. Like, the season that was like, oh, Baker's really bad and we need to get rid of him and ship him off to Carolina, he was playing through a torn labrum the whole season, So I'm really happy for him that things have gotten turned around for him, because he really got like the shortest stick you could possibly draw, it felt like there. So really happy for him. The Bucks were a team that I was high on when we did our preseason episode. I said that they're a lock for sure to win this division. They look really good. I was impressed by Atlanta's defense this last week. Was not really impressed by their offense, but was impressed by their defense on Sunday night. And I do think that they're going to be a team to watch out for in that division. But still, I look at this Tampa Bay team. Emeka Egbuka has proven to be worth the draft pick that they used on him. I just can't wait for that offense once Chris Godwin comes back. I mean, they're probably going to have the best top 3 receiver core in the NFL. It's going to be hard to argue with. And so really was really, really impressed by Tampa Bay in general, but specifically Baker Mayfield, that, he did it again. He did it again. He keeps this team winning games, despite seeming like, they're down in the dirt. I mean, his 15-yard scramble on 4th and 10 to keep that game going. He's the man. And so I was impressed by Baker Mayfield this week.
Definitely. Baker's just an impressive dude. I got to give him some credit there. You definitely said it. He's clutch. He's really good in those moments. He's swaggy. he's just that swaggy white boy that wants to talk trash and fight. He's a junkyard dog in a lot of those ways. Definitely the lineman mentality. I also have to give him credit. He's probably the most underpaid quarterback in the league as far as the non-rookie contract quarterbacks, and I don't think it's particularly close. I
Mm-hmm.
think he's still on his 3-year, $100 million contract. And easily, I think right now he's outperforming dudes on $50+ million contracts. Would you rather have Baker Mayfield or Trevor Lawrence right now? Trevor Lawrence is
Right.
being paid 20 million plus more than Baker. Even Jordan Love, who's playing impressive, like Baker's playing up in that caliber, and you're paying him far less if you're Tampa Bay. I think he's a lock right now this next offseason to be able to get a new contract that should be at least in the Dak Prescott 60 million, 55+ million dollar range. I think Baker's going to cash in there and he deserves every penny. I haven't heard a peep out of him about his contract whatsoever the last year or so. And I got to give him some respect for that. He's really grown, matured. I feel like every time he walks up to the podium, I never worry about him. I never worry he's going to say the wrong thing or make a wrong move or do any of that stuff. He's just become a leader, a captain, a legit dude. Baker Mayfield's definitely the man. And behind a offensive line that was depleted yesterday, I got to give some credit too, though, to the offensive line coach in the running game. That running game was able to put up over 160 yards, and that was a depleted offensive line and against a defense that is pretty solid. Like
A
the
really
Texans,
good defense. Very underrated defense.
their pass defense is great, their run defense is good, but to be able to put up rushing yards like that against that defense when they know that you have a lead for a large portion of the game, you shouldn't be able to run on them, especially that level of defense. And they did. Very impressive by that run game. Very impressive by Tampa Bay. And Baker's on his third offensive coordinator while being in Tampa Bay. His last two got head coaching jobs. Maybe Baker could do that again and get another OC a head coaching job. Who knows? Super impressive by Baker, though. I'm 100% there with you, man.
All right, Nick, tell me what was concerning to you this week. What's something that is like, uh-oh, we're 2 weeks in. This must be a pattern, it looks like.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what's concerning me is I kind of feel like this is 2023 all over again, or it's starting to look like it, where 2023 was the year of the quarterback injury. And already through 2 weeks, we have a bunch of injuries. We have Jaden Daniels. He got banged up a little bit, had to get his knee checked out. And that means we might get Marcus Mariota playing football in 2025. And I'm not very excited about that. Joe Burrow got injured, and that seems like it's a major injury. He's going to be out a majority of the year now. And that's just a massive red flag to me. I'm super concerned about that. JJ McCarthy, who I was looking forward to seeing firsthand to be able to gauge how he looks in a
Mm-hmm.
real football setting, he's already injured. And so that means Carson Wentz is going to be playing. And Justin Fields, who just played a great game in week 1 and was struggling in week 2, but now is injured as well. Just quarterback injuries, man, are a major issue. And Cincinnati specifically, this is Joe Burrow's third season-ending injury. He had the wrist injury 2 years ago that gave way to Jake Browning back then. He was able to hold up the ship for a bit and was able to carry the Bengals to 9-8, I believe, that year. They missed the playoffs, but were able to get there. And then Burrow's rookie year was when he got his knee beat up when he was going for the end zone, I believe. And that was a season-ending injury there with, I believe it was an ACL and maybe more ligaments than just that. But
Mm-hmm.
Burrow especially, I don't blame Burrow completely for the injury. I'm going to single him out among all these quarterbacks because it's the worst injury among them. But Burrow and his ability to extend plays seems like it's been a detriment right now where he's holding on to the ball for a long while and his offensive line just isn't very good. His offensive line's been getting him killed. In the preseason, there was the clip of them playing against Washington and Joe Burrow was playing, and the whole offensive line just threw their hands up being like, no, we didn't hold anybody, as Joe Burrow's just getting shellacked behind them. The offensive line's really inept. I don't like the coaching in Cincinnati. I really don't like the ownership in Cincinnati. it seems like this could become Andrew Luck 2.0, and that's not something that I like at all. That's something that really disappoints me, really concerns me. I really hate to think about things through that lens. But Joe Burrow, the Cincinnati team, I'm really worried. Jake Browning threw 3 interceptions in the game that they won against Jacksonville. I just don't want to see that. I want to see superstar Joe Burrow, who we all think's a top 4 quarterback on the planet, playing football. I love Joe Burrow. He's a great football player. Love watching him. Hate when my Steelers lose to him because him and that passing attack are awesome. But please, we don't want superstar quarterbacks to get injured. It sucks. And they did this week, and that's really concerning.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think you mentioned all the ones that we saw. We saw a lot of those. It's rough. Yeah, I mean, one thing that I think we might see because of it, and then I'll get back to specific guys. One, we might see Cleveland trade Joe Flacco. This might push the timeline for them to get Dylan Gabriel reps. We might see the Giants trade Jameis. Like these, again, I almost said these quarterback rich teams. I mean, that doesn't make you quarterback rich if those are the guys that you're trading for. But, we might see, it'll be interesting to see what the Raiders do with Kenny Pickett now. Some of these rookies that are on practice squads, I think about Kyle McCord from Syracuse. He's on the Eagles practice squad, behind Dorian Thompson-Robinson and Tanner McGee. It's just it'll be interesting with all of these injuries. Some of them coming from teams that are not as quarterback rich. Marcus Mariota, I think it's interesting you mentioned him and how like sad that is compared to Jaden Daniels.
Yes.
But I think about when just talking about Baker Mayfield, like his career trajectory could have ended up like Marcus Mariota, which would have been really sad. Mariota was successful in Tennessee before Tennessee traded for Ryan Tannehill. He got them to the playoffs. He won a couple playoff games. It was successful. And so to me, it was sad the way that ended up for him. I'm glad that that's not how it ended up for Baker Mayfield. And hey, who knows? We might get to see a little resurgence for him, a la Sam Darnold, or Geno Smith here now that he's getting to play potentially in Washington. One thing that I've been really disappointed in thinking about Joe Burrow is that some people have called him injury prone. I don't think what he's experienced makes you injury prone. It's not like he's had the same hamstring issue, a few times, right? He had a freak knee injury. He had, a what is now, I mean, I kind of view as a freak toe injury. Like before Patrick Mahomes was experiencing turf toe a couple seasons ago, I'd never really heard about guys experiencing turf toe. I guess Michael Thomas also was a big one that kind of happened with. But in the weird thing is with all three of those, we see same injury of turf toe. Patrick Mahomes is playing through it, doesn't really take time off. Joe Burrow out 3 months at minimum. Michael Thomas never played again, basically, right? Like, which just goes to show how vast this injury can look. There were a lot of guys on ESPN, talking about like the former players saying turf toe is such a terrible name for the injury because it sounds so insignificant, but it's incredibly painful, does lots of damage. Joe Burrow is getting surgery on this, right? And so that really sucks. But yeah, you look at the offensive line he's had to play behind his entire year. You don't blame him for getting hurt. Honestly, you're surprised he's been as durable as he has been, right? I saw his stat in his first 6 seasons compared to, and he just started his 6th season compared to Andrew Luck in his first 6 seasons. Joe Burrow already, and really we can call it 5 seasons and change, has been sacked like 20 more times than Andrew Luck was ever sacked when he was in Indianapolis. right? Like the comparison is significant when we compare the two of them. Um, Now, I think what is to why we don't need to be necessarily as afraid of Joe Burrow just up and retiring early is one, he the team that he plays for, the offense is not predicated as much around his legs, like Andrew Luck used more and was asked to use more. Andrew Luck's issues were concussions. We haven't heard of concussion issues for Joe Burrow. So I really hope that, and I'm optimistic that we're not going to see a issue like that again necessarily. Um, but that said, it's rough. It's rough for him. It's rough for the game. Like we're Cincinnati for the first time. It feels like since Joe Burrow's start, or since his career has started slow, but is still won games early, right? I
Mhm.
would say before the year that they'll probably start slow like they always do, and they aren't going to be good enough to get to a point that we're talking about them potentially sneaking into the playoffs like we have the last few years. They actually have started better than we've seen them start since Joe Burrow, record wise in Joe Burrow's career. And now that Bam is coming to a screeching halt. you know, we were thinking, how good is Washington going to be? Are we going to see a sophomore slump for Jaden Daniels or not? Well, who's to say now that we've got this injury that's going to put all of that, that's going to sort of put an umbrella over all of that, okay, are we seeing sophomore slump or is this residual from his injury? You're hoping that Washington would be able to go toe to toe with Philadelphia this year. The NFC East has not been won by the same team,
Mhm.
ever back to back, or not ever, but in like 20 years or whatever.
Or
In our
since
life,
the Andy Reid Eagles
right,
over a decade ago. Yeah.
right. And so we were thinking, hey, does that mean Washington's going to step into this? Doesn't
Mhm.
look like it, so it's rough. Um, that said, JJ McCarthy, he looked really, really bad on,
Mhm.
on Sunday. Now, again, not it's hard to say when the injury happened that may have affected, whatever. But yeah, no, I'm with you there. The thing that I'm concerned about is something that I know you are also concerned about, and that is the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. Um, we there's multiple ways to look at this. One, we saw how rough it looked against the Jets that only scored or that scored not only scored they scored 32 points,
Mhm.
and it was like yikes. But also, hey, week one, we'll see. They give up 31 points to the Seahawks last week. That is much more than the Seahawks scored against the Niners the week before,
Mhm.
who we had lots of concerns about the Niners defense. And then also looking back at the Jets go and they only score 10 points against the Bills. The Bills, a team that we were concerned about their defense after they
Mhm.
gave up 40 points to Baltimore the week prior. Baltimore goes and scores 40 again, this time against Cleveland, right? So when you look at, again, small sample size that we have so far, but when you look at the context of the teams that are in the small sample size of the Steelers defense compared to, or playing against the Steelers defense compared to the small sample size that they have in their other games this year,
Mhm.
um, yeah, it looks rough. It looks really rough. I I'm not sure. It's hard to say where to point the finger. I think maybe one thing that we can say is that we undersold the value of Minka Fitzpatrick just being the glue on that defense. So far, I'm saying so far, that's really the
Mhm.
only thing that feels like we can say because the sample size is so small. Um, that said, Seattle, you know, Sam Darnold didn't look great. He threw a couple
Mhm.
interceptions, right?
Mhm.
Um, but the real thing that did happen is Seattle ran the ball really, really well. Seattle
Mhm.
ran the ball really well. Pittsburgh cannot stop the run. Um, the week before against the Jets, Brees Hall looked pretty good. Justin Fields was able to run the ball with some success, but What we were more saying is like, wow, look how impressive it is how well Justin Fields was able to throw the ball. So, is this really just is it, again, we're such a small sample size. Is it really the Steelers' defense is bad? Is it really that the Steelers are prepping? They prepped against the Jets. Maybe we really need to stop the run. The Jets took advantage with being able to throw the ball well. The Steelers prepped against the Seahawks. The Seahawks are going to try to throw the ball with Darnold, and they answered by running the ball really well. It's hard to say, but even if that's the case, you can still then make the argument like, okay, well, the Steelers are terrible at halftime adjustments. It all in all, there are concerns that need to be had with the Steelers' defense. It's hard to pinpoint exactly where we need to be really concerned, but in general, the Steelers' defense has shown up and been concerning so far.
Yeah. If I may respond to that, I'm a Steelers fan. You watched these games, obviously. You were telling me before this because now you're living in Pennsylvania and you're getting all the games and stuff for Pittsburgh. The things that really stood out to me, one, that 31 points that Seattle put up is kind of fake because of the special teams gaff touchdown by Caleb Johnson, which is another big issue by Pittsburgh having that happen at all. But that's actually more really 24 points, not 31 points by Seattle, because that's kind of a fake 7 points, because that wasn't even a kickoff gaff where the Steelers were trying to stop Seattle, and Seattle had like a touchback a touchdown return. That was the Steelers getting the ball, and they just folded up their chairs and left. They just decided they didn't want it, and Seattle got a touchdown. So that's kind of a fake 7 points, but still legit. My concerns with the Steelers defense are the injuries are starting to mount really quickly, really soon, and I don't see how the defense immediately gets better outside of consistency, where Derek Harmon, rookie defensive tackle, was injured in the final week of the preseason. He hasn't played yet. Cam Hayward was holding in and wasn't practicing as much, and he has not looked like the same player in the same way. It hasn't been a massive fall off, but going from a Pro Bowl All-Pro defensive tackle, even at 35 years old, still seeing a drop off from him is a big concern. Deshaun Elliott at the safety position, he got injured. He's going to be out a number of weeks. He's still out. Joey Porter Jr. in week 1, he got injured. He was out for week 2. That's a concern when he's your top cornerback or top 2 cornerback, depending on how you view Jalen Ramsey.
Sure.
The edge position, Alex Highsmith got injured, and he's going to be out a couple of weeks. He had a high ankle sprain that some folks projected him to be out 6 weeks. Now the Steelers aren't putting him on IR, so he may be out for only a shorter amount of time. But that opposite edge rush position, opposite TJ Watt, is really important to the Steelers team. The edge rush position is huge. I'm also really concerned about TJ Watt, not because he's fallen off, not because he doesn't look good, not because he looks old or anything like that. But I'm used to the start of the season, TJ Watt's healthy. TJ Watt is an elite edge rusher. He's a game wrecker. He makes impact plays every week. And the first 2 weeks, there just haven't been much of any of those defensive plays. His run defense has actually been elite, where, like, if you look at the run maps, if you've seen those maps of this is where the run started, this is where it ended up, these are the short ones, these are the long ones. Through the first 2 weeks, literally every single run has been to the left side, to the left side, to the left side, avoiding TJ Watt on the offensive right side. And so TJ Watt has been an amazing deterrent and played run defense really well, but 0 sacks. Week 1, he had 0 pressures against a rookie right tackle for the Jets. That's a big concern to me as well. I'm just really concerned about Pittsburgh's defense overall, in that I don't know how they're going to be getting much better outside of getting healthier, I guess, here. And I'm really concerned about the scheme. The scheme just looks really uncreative. It really doesn't look interesting to me as far as the types of blitzes that they're sending at offenses a lot. I really don't see them mixing up the coverage. It's not like you see them go from a 2 high to dropping a robber down lower. It's not like you see them playing anything creative or exotic. And it's really weird that you don't see them doing anything creative or exotic when this is a defense that has some young dudes, yes, but a ton of veterans. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, Peyton Wilson in year 2 is a really smart player. Patrick Queen is a veteran who's played AFC North football, knows what he's doing. Jalen Ramsey, Big Play Slay, Joey Porter Jr. These are all dudes who should know what they are doing, be able to communicate things well, be able to do some crazy defensive stuff, and they're just not doing that very much. They did a nice job with the linebacker blitz up the middle through the A-gap with Peyton Wilson last week. But it's been really unimpressive schemes on defense too, let alone the run defense has been terrible and the coverage hasn't been great. I'm concerned about the Steelers too, man. Aaron Rodgers looked terrible this week too, to be honest. He just did not look comfortable at all. The offensive line also has looked very shaky at best. But yeah, I agree with you. That was your point to make, and I just jumped on there because it's my Steelers. But
yeah, no. And something else with the defense, you were talking about those injuries. First round pick Derek Harmon has not played yet. He was out week 1. He was out this week. And so in some ways you could say like, oh, well, he'll show up and that might be a boost. But on the other hand, you can say, oh boy, okay, that's another place that, we have injury issues. And that said, Cam Hayward is still playing right now, right? I'd hate to see, if the injury bug hits him before Derek Harmon is able to come in, what the interior of that defensive line looks like. Also you mentioned Aaron Rodgers didn't look good this week talking about the Steelers. The commentators were really trying to chalk that up to, oh, well, new team, young guys aren't used to him yet, but I still just saw, regardless of that, just, Aaron Rodgers didn't look very good either. So again, it's early, small sample size. Hopefully things work themselves out. Very interesting game for them this week against New England, because New England is a team that I think we're impressed by or we have high expectations for. And so this could either be a really, really awesome and good win for the Steelers that, is a get-right game for them, or this could be a loss for them against a good New England team that, potentially sets them up in a rough way moving forward. That said, I think that's really great transition into our games that we're looking forward to this week. Nick, what's a game that you're looking forward to this week that's featuring some teams that are so far on an upward trajectory, and we want to see if they take that next step?
Mm-hmm. So that would be the Broncos at Chargers game this week for me. The Broncos are a team that all offseason, they were an all-time good vibes team. Sean Payton, Bo Nix, that defense just looks stacked. If Greenlaw's healthy, if Hufunga's healthy. They were an elite defense last year, had the defensive player of the year at corner, and they added to it. They had a bunch of young players. They drafted well to the defense too, adding Jahdae Barron. I thought that defense was going to be awesome, and they just got diced up by Daniel Jones this last week, and they had some really untimely penalties late in that game that led to the re-kick that had the Colts winning that game and Daniel Jones winning that game. I still believe the Broncos are really good. I still believe they can easily make a playoff push here and make the playoffs, maybe even win a playoff game potentially. In the AFC, it's hard because of the just sheer quarterback skill sets that you'd be having to play against in a Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes. Being at a quarterback deficit's just really difficult in the AFC. But the Broncos, I'm still really high on. They've looked really good in a lot of ways. They haven't looked as good as we think they might, but I'm still very high on them as a potential team. And the Chargers have looked awesome through 2 weeks, beating the Chiefs in the first week in Sao Paulo in Brazil. And then this last week on Monday Night Football, beating the Raiders. Their defense, even Khalil Mack getting injured, it looked like he had an arm injury, maybe a broken arm. That defense was still able to put the clamps on the Raiders offense. Geno throwing multiple picks. Just the back seven, I feel like, not giving anything to the Raiders whatsoever. It's not like the pressure was amazing, but being able to pick off Geno 3 times, being able to play a scheme where you're forcing them into those bad mistakes because you're not allowing them to run. You're not allowing them to get those big plays where Brock Bowers is trying to make a big play there. Genti can make some big plays. They didn't allow any of that to happen. Even Jacoby Myers has turned into a really nice player. Trey Tucker is a deep threat. Dante Thornton out of Tennessee, he's a big play receiver. The Chargers just didn't let any of that happen. And on top of that, they had contributions from Lad McConkey still looking good. Quentin Johnston's revitalized his career completely. All of us who thought he could be a bust after a couple of years, he's looked really good. The Brazil game in week 1, he's looked awesome since then. Made a big play in the Raiders game yesterday. The Chargers, I think, are in prime position. If they can win this third game here, they're going to have 3 in-division games, be 3-0 in their division, and Kansas City's 0-2 right now. If the Chargers can win this game and Kansas City somehow falters to the Giants, the AFC West is going to be feeling a way that they haven't in a number of years. Yeah. And so this Broncos-Chargers game, the Broncos are going to be trying to fight for their life to stay in that fight with the Chargers and try and stay above water with the Chiefs there. I'm looking forward to that, to see what the AFC West has to offer. A division with such impressive coaching, such impressive rosters, good quarterback play all around. I just don't know how you get much better than that as a division where the low-level teams, the Raiders, are still a really competent, good team. And that's just really impressive, and this should be an awesome game here.
Yeah. No, I think that'll be good. I think so far this year I've decided that the Chargers are my AFC team. One, they've got both Oronde Gadsden and Marlo Wax, former Syracuse guys. And 2, Justin Herbert is my fantasy quarterback this year and has been my fantasy quarterback a lot. And so I've always liked him. I got really, really hosed in my fantasy this week. I lost by a half point.
Oh,
Herbert was my last guy. And the botched handoff between him and Omarion Hampton was officially scored as a fumble by Justin Herbert. And that's the reason that I lost this week, which is just absolutely brutal. But hey, it is what it is. But no, I'm really big on the Chargers. I'm very concerned by the Broncos. They lost this last week to the Colts. The week before, they did beat the Titans. It was Cam Ward's first career start. And they only scored 20 points against a defense that I don't think I could name outside of the
Jeffrey Simmons. He's good.
Not McDuffie. Who's the other?
L'Jarius Sneed.
Yeah. Outside of him, like, I don't know who else is really on that defense. So I think there's a chance. 1, I think there's a high chance that the Chargers win this week, and 2, I think there's a high chance that Denver is a team that we're talking about next week when we're talking about things that we're concerned about. Yeah. So, and you mentioned them losing to the Colts. Shout out to the Colts. No turnovers or punts through 2 weeks. Crazy, absolutely crazy. It'll be really interesting to see what happens there with them.
Crazy stat I saw there. You're going to be shocked by this. Back-to-back Daniel Jones games with no picks, scoring on all 5. I believe it was scoring on every possession or scoring on 5+ possessions, no turnovers. Daniel Jones has done that twice in 2 starts with the Colts. Peyton Manning did that once his whole career with the Colts.
Crazy. That's crazy.
Daniel Jones better than Peyton Manning is what I'm hearing, man. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah.
That is wild. Game that I'm really, really excited about, interested in this week because we've got 2 teams that are on the rise, and that is Rams-Eagles. I am very, very intrigued by this. I think that, I know that Philadelphia just beat the Chiefs this last week, but I actually think that this is probably going to be the biggest test that the Eagles have faced so far this year. Again, they beat the Cowboys. That's first game of the year, hang the banner and ring night. I get that. But again, it was, and interdivision game, but it was the Cowboys, right? Last week, yes, they beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead, but I'm concerned about the Chiefs. They were the other option that I had for teams that or things I'm concerned by. This is the first time that they've lost 3 straight games in Patrick Mahomes' career,
Mhm.
dating back to last Super Bowl and then these 2 games. So I'm concerned about Kansas City. But I think Los Angeles is actually going to be the first game that Philadelphia plays that it's like, okay, this is a real test. Matt Stafford has looked good so far. Of course, we were really
Mhm.
concerned about his back and how much time he was taking off for his back. Seems like time was what he needed because he's looked good. He's looked sharp. He and Devontae Adams are already working well together. We can see that. I really like the Rams defense in general. I think that this offense that Philadelphia is about to face is the best offense that they've faced so far. This
Mhm.
Rams offense. So I'm intrigued by that one. That's a 1 o'clock kickoff in Philadelphia, and so I'm really looking forward to that. Nick, what is a game that you are? What's another game you're looking forward to seeing?
Mhm. Another game that I'm looking forward to seeing, I was just double checking the slate. This one's going to be a 4:25 start game in that mid window, and that will be Cowboys Bears. The Bears, people are starting to get concerned about. Their defense has looked really so, getting just shellacked by Detroit this last week. And their
Mhm.
offense and Caleb Williams has had spots of looking good where they start off games good. They can score really early in the game when on script. And Caleb actually looks really good off script later in the game. But it feels like that middle part is just missing, where the meat in this sandwich is just missing. Where Caleb Williams playing on script throughout the middle of the game, being able to make plays on schedule, on time. He's just missing that. He's not able to throw an accurate ball in a lot of these layered throws down the field. He just doesn't seem like he has the presence of mind to be able to make the plays that are there to be had. Where in week one, there was a throw where there was a dude streaking right down the left sideline who was open and he
Mhm.
overshot him for a game winning throw and he just missed him. And that was really disappointing to me. Caleb, who's a player who I think supremely talented. He's looked awesome off script. He looks like Mahomes. He looks like an amazing, slippery athlete on the move who's able to throw. And I'm really concerned about them. But this Cowboys defense has looked dreadful. They just let Russell Wilson hang 37 on him. They just let go ball after go ball after go ball. Wandale Robinson, Malik Neighbors. Neighbors, I think, is a superstar. Robinson, I think, solid. But to just let big play after big play after big play, the Giants
Yeah.
don't have a good offensive line and they don't have elite receivers. They have Neighbors, but it's not like the run game makes you really concerned where you have to guard up
Right.
against the run game and you're not playing the pass. Russell Wilson was able to dice him up. Hopefully, Caleb Williams, with the better offensive line than the Giants, with the better overall receiving core depth wise, better tight ends, better overall receivers than the Giants. I just think that there's no reason why the Bears shouldn't be able to have their best offensive outing of the year. And this
Yeah.
Cowboys offense is super fun, super high flying against a Bears defense that hasn't looked amazing all year. It seems like Matt Eberflus, who now this is going to be a Matt Eberflus revenge game because he's the defensive coordinator for the Cowboys. I
Mhm.
don't think he's very good, but having a head coach be able to focus on your side of the ball is a big help. And Ben Johnson's definitely not focusing on helping the defense right now.
Right.
So I think the Cowboys should be able to tear up the Bears. Bears should be able to tear up the Cowboys. And this should be a really good looking offensive game where both of these offenses should look the best they have all year and should just be kind of good vibes all around for these offenses. Where Dak, we've been concerned about after all the injuries the last couple of years. He's looked good this year. Caleb Williams, we're concerned about. Should be a really fun bounce back game. Should be a really awesome game. Really excited about that.
Yeah, yeah, and I could very well see this game being you know carbon copy of the Cowboys Giants game from the previous week.
Mm-hmm.
I could see this game being like that, but it's the Bears who win, 37-34 or whatever, and everyone's like, "Oh, Ben Johnson finally answered the bell." But I'll be thinking if that were to happen, my thought will be okay, defense is still really bad, and this offense is not going to be good enough against actual good defenses, and the defense clearly can't keep them in games. So yeah, so we'll see. I think that's a great pick for this. For our second games that are hey, these are things we're concerned about, and will these teams get it right
Mm-hmm.
this week? For me, that game is Kansas City at the New York Giants. They're going to New York on Sunday Night Football. I think when they scheduled this Sunday Night Football game, they thought maybe we see rookie Jackson Dart, and maybe we see Kansas City revenge tour after losing the Super Bowl. Instead, we're seeing two 0-2 teams playing here on Sunday Night Football. But yeah, you mentioned it. You were talking about Kansas City, and what, at least relative to the AFC West, depending on what happens in this game. If Kansas City loses this game, like, because it's Patrick Mahomes, it feels like we can never make ultimatums about the Kansas City Chiefs. But if Kansas City were to lose this game, I give them a 5% chance to win the division this year. They will be down. They will be down a 3-game hole to the Chargers. That would mean that in the final 14 games, they would win 3 more games than the Chargers, right? And it's just with each one of those weeks that passes by that they don't gain ground, right? Say they lose and then they both win the next 2 games, okay? Well, then it's like, okay, now you only have 12 games that you need to win 3 more games than them, right? And they've already played once, which means there is only 1 game left for Kansas City this year that they can guarantee if we win, we will gain a game on this team. Again, we're getting down the world of hypotheticals. That's if Kansas City loses this game. But this has to be a get right game for them. And yes, and I feel like this has to be more than a get right game, in that they leave as winners. If they leave this game and they've won 20-16, I'm still going to be really concerned about Kansas City. This needs to be a showing similar to when they went into Pittsburgh last year on Christmas and beat the Steelers, right? And it was just, we're starting to think, hey, Pittsburgh's this team. They're in playoff conversation, and Kansas City just went in and they meant business, and they did not give Pittsburgh a chance. They can't play with their food this week against the Giants. Even if they win, I'm still gonna be concerned. Heck, if they win but they don't look good, I might be more concerned than I am now, because they played against the Chargers, a team that we're really high on, the Eagles, who are the defending champions. So far, Kansas City has had a hard schedule, a difficult schedule. A difficult schedule enough that for a wild card team, yeah, you lost both those games. Makes sense, If they lose this one, though, then we really start needing to think like, whoa, how far has this team sunk? So it'll be interesting. Sunday Night Football. It's going to be. It sounds more like a Thursday Night Football game, but So
I
yeah.
have a question for you too. Looking at the Chiefs' schedule, the Chiefs-Chargers second game, their first game was in Brazil. That was counted as a Chargers home game, so their second matchup's going to be in Kansas City. That's going to be on December 14th, so mid-December. Is this the biggest Mahomes-Chiefs game in December ever? Because they're going to be fighting for their life for the division then. Normally they have the division locked up in December. December isn't playoff football, and it's not like the Chiefs have been fighting in December normally for the 1 seed or like seeding normally. Normally they're far ahead, or the Ravens have put together a stretch where they're far ahead. It hasn't been like they've been fighting in December. This is going to be like backs against the wall December football. I feel like that Chargers game is going to be kind of make or break. And Kansas City, that could be their reclamation for the season if they can beat that Chargers team. If they lose, though, then that would just put them so far behind the 8 ball against the Chargers, man.
Yeah, well, I mean, even looking at the Chiefs' schedule just through October, okay? They're at New York tonight. They host the Ravens. They're at Jacksonville. They host the Lions. They host the Raiders. They host the Commanders. Let's say they win. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's say they win 4 of those 6 games. That still puts them at 4-4, 8 weeks into the season. And
Mm-hmm.
then let's go. Let me get here quick. Hopefully, looking at the Chargers' schedule through October, they
Mm-hmm.
are hosting the Broncos this week, at New York, hosting the Commanders, at the Dolphins, hosting the Colts, hosting the Vikings. In the
Mm-hmm.
next in the next 6 weeks, which is how long we're talking, or to get these teams through October, 6 games for both of them. Chargers have a way easier schedule.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we saw last year with the Steelers, you can get ahead early, but if then you face a really rough stretch, you can lose all of it quick. But that was the Ravens were far closer to the Steelers than a potentially 4-4
Mm-hmm.
4-4 Chiefs team would be to this Chargers team.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, you look at the back half of this Chargers schedule. At the Titan, they still are at the Titans, at the Jaguars, hosting the Raiders, at the Cowboys. Like those are 4 games that you
Manageable.
chalk up as
Very
wins.
manageable. Yeah.
So like there's this can get really ugly really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, so we'll see. So, but hey, if Kansas City goes into New York on Sunday night, they win, they not just win, they destroy. They look like, okay, this is what we're accustomed to with the Kansas City Chiefs, then we'll be like, all right, and we can chalk their first 2 weeks up to they're playing really good teams.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just funny how 1 week can completely change perspectives. After week 1, I was very concerned about the Detroit Lions. I was really concerned about their offense. I
Mm-hmm.
was I was feeling a little bit better about their defense actually because they only gave up 27 compared to what we saw at the end of last season. And then they
Oh.
come out this week and they score 52 and I'm like, I'm not concerned about this offense anymore. So it's funny how 1 week can do that depending on what happens.
Mm-hmm.
So we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
All right, y'all. Hey, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hearing our thoughts and listening to us, supporting us by watching. We really really appreciate it. Hopefully, we'll be able to get episodes to you these next couple weeks. But also, if not, just know that Nick is having the time of his life over in the UK, and we'll be back with it once he gets back. So we appreciate you all, and everybody have a great week.
Peace.